All right, lads, how's things? We're back here for another year. Myself and Steven Poacher are going to take it this year. JB Byrne jumped ship and went to the Rossies for his sins. But look, we're just going to scan through the divisions here. Myself and Steven, pick out the few key results, and we'll talk about the Crokes and Glenn debacle and see what's going on in the next few weeks. It should be fun. So we'll be with you for the next half an hour, 40 minutes here. So Steven, how's things, man? How are you getting on?
Not too bad, innit? Not too bad. Busy weekend of football. Seen a few games. Seen 3 games actually. Watched the 3 games on Sunday. And interesting to see how the leagues have started. I was having a chat with a few friends last week, and we sort of predicted who was going to win the leagues and who was going to be relegated, and them predictions have not been good at all. To be honest.
No,
listen.
From the outset, who are you thinking?
No, well, I'll be honest with you. I thought Fermanagh had a big win against Longford. After Longford winning the O'Byrne Cup, I really thought, and with Mickey Quinn back, big Darren Gallagher, obviously McGervey and those boys, and the Mullalochla boys are back on board. I just thought, Paddy Christie, new manager, I just thought there might be a bit of a boost there. Another team that shocked me was Meath. I'm not going to lie. I thought Colin Marook would struggle, particularly with his honest opinions on the game of, kicking in early, etc., etc. I just feel, Cork with Kevin Walsh on board, I thought they would have been set up beautifully to actually counteract that type of style of football. But Cork seemed to have the old feelings, and I'd tip sort of Cork to come out of 2 as well, along with Dublin. And listen, Dublin weren't impressive either, Enda,
No.
Fought from it, and then Donegal has blown the whole Division 1, relegation battle to pieces, because people were expecting Donegal to struggle, So
well,
it's interesting.
Just getting on to Division 1, Stephen, like you have obviously, I suppose the Rossies obviously give time. Look at, I think the score at the end, they got the goal to make it a 5-point game or a 6-point game in the end. Like, it made it look more comfortable than it was. But like Division 1 now, it'd be interesting. Who have you for Division 1? Like, who are you thinking in terms of relegation there?
Well, I'm going to tell you a good story, Enda, about Roscommon, right? I was down in Roscommon, right? And this is what I'm like when it comes to predicting football. So I think it was June 2021, and the league had just finished, and we had lost. It was the north-south divide. You remember the COVID year? So we had Dublin, Derry, and Galway in our section. Lost all 3 games. Went to the athletic grounds. Was beat by Armagh. And the following week, we decided to do a training camp in Cavan, and we played Tyrone in a challenge match just before the championship kicked off. So it was actually Father's Day, and I was away all day, and it was a lovely, beautiful, sunny Sunday, and we put 4 goals past Tyrone up in Fermanagh, up in Rosslea, actually, Sean Quigley country. And I came down the road buzzing. We beat Tyrone 4-11 to like 113, and I was buzzing. I says, we're in a good place going into the championship here. And I went back to the house, and I met my father for Father's Day, and I sat down with a wee can of Carlsberg with him, and I said to him, Daddy, Tyrone are finished. And 3 months later, Tyrone won the All-Ireland. So that's where I am in my predictions, you know what I mean? So, no, listen, it's amazing what can happen with a bit of momentum. It's amazing what can happen with a bit of momentum. Tyrone beat Cavan, and then they had a bit of luck against Donegal that year and went on and won the All-Ireland. Listen, fair play, though. They were proven to be the best team in the country that year.
It was the Kerry debacle too in the league, Stephen. Not many people would have seen that now, to be fair. Like, the Kerry gave them an awful height down in
6 goals. That was the week before. That was the week before. Kerry put 6 goals past them, and we put 4 past them the following week in a challenge match, and you were just going away scratching your head going, where do they go from there? But it's mad too, and this is the point I'm going to make. You're talking about the Rossies. There's always been football, and as you very well know, there's always been football in Roscommon. They're a massive footballing county. Donny and Enda are 2 lovely lads. They're 2 stalwarts of the team now. I seen Enda had a really positive game on Sunday. Donny came off the bench to make his 100th appearance. Great guys. Conor Hussey's back playing really well. Brian Stack's as good a defender as there is in Connacht, and probably doesn't get the recognition because he's the quiet man, as I would call him. He just goes about his business in a really, really quiet, dignified manner. You have the Dailies, who are the dogs of the team. They add that wee bit of steel and that wee bit of grit, and they proved it in the Club Championship last year with their own club. They're a very, very stubborn, hardy bunch of lads. And Niall's back; he's back fit and playing well. their biggest problem, and I felt this year, was going to be middle of the field. Especially with Ultan Horney away travelling. I thought Ultan would have been he's the heartbeat of the team, in my opinion. I thought he's a massive loss for them. But young Keith Doyle stepped up into the mark there. He had a great game on Sunday, and a really, really positive game. And, up front, Roscommon have never been shy of forwards, as you know. Ben O'Carroll's burst onto the scene. Dara Craig, a fellow club mate of the two Smiths. So I thought Cian McKeown breaking his leg or getting a real serious injury, I thought he would have been a loss for them, up front. But this lad, Ben O'Carroll and Dara Craig, have really stopped up from the under-20s. And this is great to see. They play some lovely stuff.
I'll play devil's advocate here now, Stephen. So, like, in terms of, and I don't dispute anything you said there. In terms of Roscommon, is it, I'm going to say they might win 2 or 3 Connachts every 10 years. That might be a bit too much to say, but is it, they never seem to kick on then from Connacht. Do you know what I mean? Like, in Connacht, they're very competitive. They're very, very hard to beat, especially in the height. And you'll always, as you said, they have some really, really good footballers. But then, is it a case that they don't have the squad to go on? Is it a case that they're happy with a Connacht, or what is it like? What's their mindset?
No, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I think consistency has been their biggest challenge, their biggest problem. Having that level of consistency ended to back up. Now this weekend will be very interesting, right? As much as it was a brilliant win, I thought Tyrone were very poor, right? I thought Tyrone underperformed. This is the test this week. They go to Salt Hill this week. Can they back up a win last week, with a really positive performance against Galway? Because over the last number of years, Galway have probably been their nemesis a little bit. Now, I know they beat Galway in a league final a Division 2 league final, albeit last year, but really and truly, both teams were shadowboxing that day. Both teams were shadowboxing that day, and they come to championship, Galway won comfortably. But I think, this is something that I spoke to Anthony Cunningham about. Anthony wanted to introduce an under-23 development squad with Roscommon over the winter. And the whole point was that for Roscommon to challenge at the top table, they need a conveyor belt of Ben O'Carroll's and Dara Craig's coming through, to keep that process going. Because I just feel if Enda Smith got injured, if Brian Stack got injured, you're just sort of looking at their squad going, they probably don't have the strength and depth to replace those players. Kieran and Damon Murder as well, two fine footballers, have been around the block a long time now. But I think that's their biggest challenge, Enda, is the consistency. And you're right in what you say. For me, that's one of the first questions I asked Enda and the boys when I went in. What is the glass ceiling here? And his words to me was like, we just want to get to an All-Ireland semi-final. They've never actually probably got to that last four, and like a Derry or a Galway, or even in recent years Tipperary, and in the COVID year got to the last four. They've never actually just broke that glass ceiling, and
I just don't understand it. Like, so you're saying it's really, as you said, and why did the under-23 squad come in then? As in, did actually introduce that? That's one of the legacies he's left behind?
That was one of the things he was doing. I know the likes of Padraig Mitchell and guys like that behind the scenes in Roscommon are doing a fierce amount of work around development squads and stuff. And there is a massive amount of work going on in Roscommon. They've got a lot of good things right, and their underage structure over the last few years has been very, very competitive, very, very consistent. But I think the biggest challenge, as you say, probably lies in their strength and depth in the squad. My worry was that when Roscommon lost, 3 or 4 players, number 16 to 21 probably just wasn't as strong as number 16 to 21 in your Kerrys, your Tyrones, your Dublins. Because we go back to Tyrone winning the All-Ireland in 2021. It was their bench that actually made the impact. The likes of Tiernan McCann, Ronnie O'Neill, those guys coming on had a major impact. And then Tyrone sort of lost that quartet of a squad. They lost a lot of big names who were on the periphery, but people don't underestimate. And the way the game's played now, and yourself, the game has moved on massively. The strength conditioning in the game, the levels of physical conditioning, the way teams transition now from defence to attack, vice versa, and it's not 70 minutes, it's 80 plus now with injury time. You need a good squad. You need a good squad, and your substitutions are pivotal. We were actually talking about this. You nearly need to have a plan in place for your substitutions. When are you going to make those changes? In and around about the 50th to 60th minute are key times for those changes to come in and really bring a freshness for the last 20 minutes,
Now, I on that, I will say, some managers used to do that, and it used to now, obviously, if you're on the team and you're getting whipped off after 50 minutes, it used to piss lads off to the no end. But I obviously, as you said there, it's an 80-minute game, it's a squad game now at this stage. and it is needed to freshen things up. But on Tyrone, actually, Steve, I'm going to pick your brains here. What, like you said it there yourself, 6 lads walked away from an All-Ireland winning squad from, we say, 6 months later, whatever it was. Like, what is the story there? Because that to me, being involved in a squad, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's an interesting one, Enda. It's an interesting one. Obviously, the in-laws are Tyrone people. Wife's Tyrone. Father would have played for Tyrone for a good decade. Like, they'd be staunch Tyrone people. So I'd be listening to the tears in the house here when things aren't going well. And I suppose there is an element of something just doesn't seem right. Something just does not seem right with them. I always find, Enda, Tyrone need a cause. Right, I always find that Tyrone need a cause. So, circle the wagons, Pat Spillane back in 03, puke football, circle the wagons, the tragedies that Tyrone have had, circling the wagons, really playing. And, I just find they need a cause. And I feel maybe that edge has just maybe slightly gone off them a little bit. And that's just me looking in from the outside. I could be completely wrong, and Tyrone could come out now this week, beat Donegal and go on and win Ulster. That's, that wouldn't, if Tyrone were to win an Ulster Championship this year, it probably wouldn't surprise anybody. But I just don't feel. There's.
It wouldn't surprise me if they got relegated from Division 1 either.
That's the thing, Enda. And I tell you what, Enda, I was looking at the fixtures. This weekend's massive, because if they're to lose, Donegal are one of the teams that people are looking at now to go down. So if they were to lose this weekend, they've already lost to Roscommon, they've already lost to Donegal. All of a sudden, they're playing Armagh, which is never easy. They're playing at Mayo, a great team who, even Galway now, like Galway are on the up. I know Shane Walsh obviously is going to be taking an extended break, and I know they've lost Liam Stilk and Kieran Malloy and guys like that, but Galway are still a fine side, and there seems to be a wee bit of momentum carrying over from last year with Galway, and what I would probably say as well, particularly with Shane Walsh, there's an aura of confidence now with Galway, that they've came so close, and they have nearly broke that glass ceiling now with a feel, right, we're not a million miles away, so Division 1's going to be tough, and I think Monaghan and Tyrone could be two teams that find themselves in a real struggle.
Well, going on to actually Monaghan there, with Vincent Corey coming in as new manager, like obviously, look, there's a lot of old heads there coming to early 30s, mid 30s. Like he's obviously it's going to be a bit of a transition job, surely. There is it? Yeah,
listen, Monaghan, but at the same time, and Monaghan are one of these counties that have sort of maximised their resources, in my opinion. They've always, like, I feel for, like, the fact that Monaghan are still in Division 1 after such a long sustained period of time is huge respect to them, because Monaghan's a small county. It's one of the smallest counties in Ireland, and they're really, really maximising it. Their school structure is very strong. The likes of Carrick, Macross, Castleblade, those schools are doing a phenomenal amount of work as well. I know from being involved in schools football myself, their school structure is very, very strong. Their development squads, and they're always very strong, well organised, well structured, and that they always seem to bring in a Conor McCarthy or David Gartlin or a Micheál Bannigan or a Gary Mohan. They've always sort of seemed to bring somebody through, and obviously they're hanging on to Conor McManus's, the Darren Hughes, the Kieran Hughes of this world, and those men are still absolutely pivotal for them, but those men are not getting any younger, and they'll probably be the first to say, sometimes eventually the dreaded time catches up with everyone.
Yeah. And what about? I'm really picking your brain here with the Ulster football. Last Ulster question here. Down your own obviously county there. How do you think that's going to go with Conor Laverty going in there?
Listen, they're on the crest of a wave. Listen, and people on the outside, you see, probably are looking at Down last year and thinking, oh, what's going on in Down, and Down have always had brilliant footballers, and don't forget, up until December, Down, were actually the holders of the All-Ireland club title with Kilcoo, so like Down club football is very, very competitive. Kilcoo could have been knocked out of the championship twice this year by both Clonduff and Warrenpoint, two very, very competitive games. The Down league structure, and is one of the best leagues in Ulster. The games are played on a Friday night. There's 18 league games. Club footballers in Down get 18 competitive games from April right through to August. No break. There's 1 2-week break in July for a holiday period. And people would nearly associate the 2-week break as the marching season, so we can all go marching and stuff around the 12th, so, but that's not for everybody. But the 2-week break normally takes place around about the 12th of July. And what happens then is you have 18 league fixtures running off, and I think it's a brilliant league structure. And the Down leagues are wild competitive, Enda. wild competitive, like, and this, like, I've been involved now in the Down senior leagues for about 12 years, you know, Division 1 level. I've seen every single, there's probably not a team I don't know, a player I don't know, and I can tell you now, Down have some fantastic footballers, some brilliant footballers, and what they've done is they've got a bit of a head start. They went back training Enda, I think the middle of October. They were back training very, very hard. You know, they were in the gym a couple of nights a week, they were on the pitch a couple of nights a week, they were running up the mountains and stuff like that. So, you know, they've done a huge amount of work, like, and they're very, very fit. They've probably got what I would say, and maybe 4 to 5 weeks of really, really good work done ahead of everyone. And that's where they'll get their gains. A bit like Armagh last year. You know, Armagh had a really good start to the league, haven't had their work done early. You know, and I think that the fact that Down have had a lot of work done early, I think it'll stand them in great stead, you know, come this league. And to be honest with you, just looking at Division 3, Cavan Tip this weekend, Down Antrim, this is the other thing too, and you know, Down have this association with the Down swagger, gone back years and years and years of the Down way, and you know, there's this confidence and this aura with a Down team that, you know, they don't fear anyone, and it's true, like, and like the likes of Antrim coming to Newry on Saturday night, like, they're cannon fodder, you know, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to Antrim, like, but Down will go out expecting to win that game by 10 points, and that's just the way Down people are. That's just the way Down football is. And if Down get a run on Antrim on Saturday night, we could win the game by double figures. That's the reality, you know. So I don't see anyone in Division 3 outside of Cavan really challenging Down for that second promotion place, to be honest with you, you know.
All right, I'll play devil's advocate here now again. Has it been, as you said there, and I don't disagree with you, Down have some phenomenal footballers, and obviously being a power, like, obviously in the early 90s was your strong period, but since then, let's be honest, in the last 20 years, you've been in no man's land in terms of, obviously, kind of the Kilcoo kind of boys not playing for you, the kind of, obviously, Conor Lafferty's coming in there, he's obviously very young. Has it been mismanagement? Has it been what's the structure hasn't been right? Has it what's gone wrong there? Like, for a county like Down, size of it, the football pedigree, the history, all that goes with it.
Yeah, listen, probably end a whole combination. How long have we got? No, well, listen, you know, look, to be honest with you, it's like every county. Sometimes you have to start at the bottom up and work your way up, you know, and Down for me, and probably over the last, you know, 10 to 15 years, it's always been looking for a short-term fix, you know, when in truth, you probably have to start at the bottom and work your way up, you know, build your development structures, build your underage structures, you know, get those things right, and then work from the bottom up, you know, and I think over the last probably 10, 12 years, gone back to 2010, got to an All-Ireland final, great time to cash in, you know, great feel-good factor in the county, gather a bit of money, throw the money at the development squads, really build from the bottom up. We probably didn't, you know, and it was 2012, and in 2012, Down were beating Dublin in a National League game, Division 1 National League game in a packed-out Newry 10 years ago. You know, they were beating Dublin, they were beating Mayo, Saturday Night Lights, fantastic games, you know, and they were sort of in and around 1 and 2 for a long time. And then obviously they came in, you know, poor Eamon Burns, Lord rest him, who's passed away now. Eamon took the job, and he was thrown into the deep end, into Division 1, never won a game, went to Division 2, stayed up the following year, and they've sort of hovered around 2 now for a long time. And then obviously last year, a similar thing happened. James came in very late and obviously got relegated to 3. And that was, you know, unfortunately, like that left the thing in a low ebb. So it was a very good time for Conor and the boys to come in. It was a really good time to come in. Probably things were a low ebb, and you know, you're always going to get a lift and a buzz when Conor comes in and brings that sort of energy and that sort of siege mentality that Kilcoo have, you know, because stuff like that can make a difference, you know, to a group. Like, and you know, when you're bringing in that mentality and that sort of tight knit mentality, and you know, circle the wagons again, go back to the throne thing, the cause, you know, everyone hates you, no one rates you, you're not even respected in your own clubs, you know, the usual baloney, you know, and that sort of will galvanize a group for a while, and you know, and that's where we'll get the lift, and that's where we'll get the buzz. But look, and it's like anything, it's gone back to the Roscommon thing where I talked to you about long-term investment. It's okay doing this for a year or two and getting a lift and getting a buzz, but you really need to be looking at your school structures, you know, what's going on in the schools. Down schools have underperformed in it for a long time now. I'm part of that as well. You know, we've all underperformed for a long time. There's the McCrory Cup final now being contested next week between Omagh and Holy Trinity, 2 Tyrone schools. That shows a real sign of strength in Tyrone school football and underage football in Tyrone, you know, and we have to look at a whole combination of things: our school structure, development squads, everything. And that's a branch review that needs looked at from the bottom up. And until something really, really sustainable and something that's really, really ingrained in a real long-term vision and plan, you'll always be in that sporadic couple of years and then back down again, and then a spring again and back down again, But look, hopefully the signs are good. Benny Coulter's over the minors. Benny's done a lot of work with the development squads behind the scenes. He's doing a lot of work at underage level and stuff like that. So hopefully we will start to see some sort of fruition coming to the fore now with the way things are going.
And what's the story? What's the story with the Kilcoo boys? As in, like, why was that there a standoff there, or what? Like, I don't know. Was there just didn't feel the setup was
no idea, and no idea. I can't speak for any of them. Like, they can only speak for themselves. But you can't make anyone play county football. It's an individual choice. If someone doesn't want to commit to the county, it's completely their choice. So look, some of them obviously stepped away for or decided not to commit. But there's 5 or 6 of them involved this year. Like the likes of Bobo Kane, Ryan McAvoy, Keelan Doherty, Dylan Ward's been involved under Paddy Talley. Like, there has been a lot of Kilcoo players involved. I don't think people probably have this misperception that Kilcoo never ever committed to the county. They probably have had a number of players that have been there. Probably the most documented one probably was the Brannigans maybe last year and stuff. But Brannigans are very busy lads. They're sheep farmers by trade. They invest a lot of time and energy into their own farm and they invest a lot of time and energy. And listen, and at the end of the day, Conor Lavery said in a podcast last year with Thomas Simlock, Kilcoo is number one, and that's the bottom line for those lads. Like, those lads live, eat, sleep, drink football out there, and they're very passionate. And look, there's a reason why they've won 10 championships in the last 11 years and down. They're fanatical about their football, and you have to hand it to them, and they're the team to beat, and that's the reality. So look, when you have a successful club set up, and it's probably not an easy sell to go into a county team that maybe haven't been going that well, and yourself, like, so maybe that could be a reason, but who knows, but there is a good few of them involved this year, so time will tell.
I'm trying to get you in trouble here, Steven.
What's that?
I said, I'm not trying to get you in trouble here, don't worry.
No, hey, listen, you're not getting me in trouble. I'm enough trouble as it is, isn't it?
So tell us, what other results kind of struck out at you at the weekend? From any of the
well, Meath shocked me. I said to you, Meath shocked me. Really, really shocked with Meath's performance down in Cork. Shane Walsh obviously had a super day. Yeah. The Meath Shane, that was a big result. Armagh winning in Castleblaney, really, really good start for Armagh. Armagh have probably traditionally, maybe over the last couple of years, it's been a real local derby between them and Monaghan. 2 counties that border each other very close. The likes of Cullaville and Castleblaney are very, very close. There's a real parochial edge to that game. That was a big win for Armagh, particularly away from home.
Is this the year? Is this the year now? Like, is this kind of McGeeney's kind of year? As in, like, he's obviously year 7, year 8 into the job here. Are you, like, I don't know what the Armagh people are thinking here, but are they how much longer is he? What's progress for Armagh this year? Do you know what I'm saying to you? As in, like, obviously an Ulster title, like, after 7 or 8 years of not. Sorry, go on. No,
I was going to say, I don't know what way an Ulster title is going to be perceived now. I was sort of looking at the new structures and stuff like that. It nearly feels as if the provincials are going to be watered down now. It nearly feels as if now. I still think Ulster will retain that sort of, that mystique and that aura, and that history and tradition that to win an Ulster title and win an Anglo Celt is obviously going to be huge. Like, but Armagh finished 3rd in Division 1 last year. Armagh and Kieran McGeeney, for me, do get a lot of criticism. I don't particularly think that Armagh club football is one of the strongest club footballs out there. You've seen what Ballybay done to Cross McLean this year in the Ulster Club Championship, and then you've seen what Kilcoo done to Ballybay. I don't think Armagh club football is up there in Ulster as being a really top high level of club football. I think Tyrone club football is very high, very, very competitive. I think Derry club football is very, very competitive. Like Slaughtneil, Maherfelt or Glen could beat any team in Ulster on their day, and I just think Kieran McGeeney has really maximised what he has. He's got a group of lads buying in for a long time. He took the team in Division 3. First year they didn't get out of it. The second year they got out of it. They've built from there. They finished 3rd in Division 1 last year, and I don't think he got enough credit for that. He was beaten in a penalty shootout by Galway, who eventually went on and lost the All-Ireland final, albeit to Kerry, who obviously just had one of those days with David Clifford was unplayable. So like Armagh are not a million miles away. They're not a million miles away. They've got great athleticism, Enda. They've got a lot of pace in their team. They've some really good forwards. Their Achilles heel probably still maybe is defensively, maybe just a little bit suspect at times, and that could be maybe even probably I would go as far as saying, and that maybe even just a lack of physicality and height, even around that middle sector when it comes to a team pressing their kick out. It could come back to cost them in the end. But for me, Armagh would be definitely, in my opinion, eyeing up a league final this year in Division 1. Because look, the way it is, Anna, you know yourself from your playing days, National League was just a sort of a shadow boxing exercise. It was all about championship, right? You could go through the National League and be done and take 8 weeks of a break and get a real good 6 weeks of conditioning done, another mini pre-season. That's not the case no longer. You finish the league, you're out in the championship in 2 weeks this time. And that's why a good league campaign is absolutely imperative to carry your momentum through to the championship, So if Armagh's targeting a really good league, wouldn't surprise me if they hit the ground running in the championship.
So, like, just getting back at the overall kind of view of the going into the summer, like, is it just the same? What teams? Obviously, you're going to have the Kerrys, you're going to have the Dublins. You're talking Armagh there for the dark horses. Who else are you talking? Who else kind of takes your fancy?
I don't think Derry have gone away either. I think Derry are still about. I like the fact what Rory Gallagher does is he's a very tight-knit squad. He doesn't carry big numbers in his squad. He keeps it very confined. So all those guys this year are in the year 3 of Rory's process. Okay, and now I know that he's put them through a very, very grueling physical regime over the last number of years. I watched them in the McKenna Cup in Newry and against Down. They probably hadn't got enough work done at that stage physically, and they probably had half a team playing, but they were so well versed in what they were doing, and from their kick out strategy to their defensive plan, to the way they broke down and like that day Down got 3 goals against them, which is obscure for a Rory Gallagher team to concede 3 goals. But it was the way they created their scoring opportunities. That's one big thing that I think Enda has evolved in Rory's coaching as well, is the offensive side of things. He's really, really brought an offensive element to his game that many people under Donegal, Rory Gallagher under Donegal, Rory Gallagher under Fermanagh, but he's probably cut this cloth to suit. He was carrying on the legacy of Jim with Donegal, which was an ultra-defensive system. With Fermanagh, he was probably looking at, with Fermanagh, he was probably looking at a team with very few scoring options at that time. So therefore, he had to play a very, very rigid defensive system. But with Derry, he's got good forwards. He's got forwards with pace, power, penetration, and he's got those Glen lads coming back in, Ethan Doherty, Connor Glass, Danny Talon. Those lads are coming in full of confidence, full of confidence. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how Derry perform this year.
Do you think I know last year, obviously, when you get into Croker, like to me, Derry still play the counter-attacking game. I know they have McGuigan inside; he's a very, very good forward. But like to reach that kind of next level, personally, I don't think you can win Northern Ireland playing a running game as in the counter-attack football. That's only my personal opinion. You might be different to me now, but to me, Derry last year, they still have to evolve that side of the game in terms of the way, like to me, they run the ball probably, I'd say 70% of the time, 80% of the time. Would you disagree with me?
I would not disagree with you at all, and no, listen, I think you're completely right. I think, and it's like anything, I suppose, it's like life, it's like life. I know we're talking about, diets and people having too many pints at the weekend. No matter what you do in life, it's about the balance, and I think football's exactly the same. It's about getting that balance between, as you say, the hard running game and the kicking game, because the hard running game physically is a very difficult game to sustain. It's a very difficult game to sustain. I don't think we can just go out all out, like, right, we're going to kick the ball flat out, blah, blah, blah. But there is an element of mixing it up. Like Kerry last year had a nice balance. They took a couple of brilliant marks in the All-Ireland final, and they still ran the ball really effectively as well, because Kerry obviously, especially with the deep line runners that they have in their half-back line and their full-back line, have serious penetration as well. And I think you're completely right in what you say. Maybe just having, just another string to their bow. But look, I'll tell you one thing, Enda. You see Shane McGuigan, I am telling you this now, he is a fabulous footballer. I was actually at the McKenna Cup game myself, and Benny Coulter was standing watching it on the terrace, and we were just like saying how good a footballer he is. Like, we always knew he was a good player. Do you know what I mean? But you're just sitting there, middle of January, you know, McKenna Cup, heavy pitch, down really up for it, big crowd in Newry, and he was just a class above anything on the pitch. And that's the truth. And I just watched him again in Limerick there at the weekend, the ease in which he was getting his scores, and you know, and I listened to John Dibley, actually was down in our school there a few weeks ago, and doing a coach education workshop. And John talked about the amount of preparation Galway put into that game, but the amount of detail they went to on, particularly on McGuigan, the amount of detail they went into, even going back as far as Sigerson Cup days, like that's serious level of preparation and detail into marking a player, you know. So I think when they've got a marquee man like that, because Enda, I'm going to throw something at you here. We had this conversation at the weekend there with a couple of friends of mine. We're having a few beers last Friday and we're talking about this, and we're chatting about football in general. And this might be a statement that might cause a stir or whatever. But you take Clifford and Seanie O'Shea out of Kerry, right?
Yeah.
And see right across the board. I don't think there's an awful lot between the top 8 or 9 teams. And I mean that. If you take those two boys out, because they're the stardust, they are the stardust. I think Dublin have definitely regressed from where they were. You know, Mayo are in transition. You know, Galway are still Galway, they're still beatable. Tyrone are a wee bit on the dip. You know, Armagh, okay, they're on the rise, but they're still not, you know, world beaters. And I just think if you take Clifford and Seanie O'Shea out of Kerry, there is not a massive amount between the rest of those teams, and that's just the way I see it. You know.
No, I don't. To be honest, Stephen, even with them, I don't think there's an awful lot between the teams. I think compared to 5-6 years ago, I think the football championship is in a much better place in terms of competition. I think there's, as you said, we've gone through 7 or 8 teams here, and the two of us wouldn't be surprised if any of them 8 teams got to an all-Ireland final. And you couldn't say that 6-7 years ago, which is great to see. Like I nearly fell out of love with the game 6-7 years ago. It was that bloody. I know obviously Mayo getting to an all-Ireland finals, but in terms of watching Leinster football or watching quarterfinals, sure, it was absolutely desperate stuff in terms of the hammerings, the beatings they used to get. But now, as you said, the Armaghs have come into play. I know I've been not harsh with Rory and with Derry, but as you said, where Rory have gotten Derry from where they were, it's very, very impressive. But as you know, once you get to a stage, you get greedy and you want to go again. Like, so that's my question there in terms of Derry. Like, how are they going to break that ceiling to get to the next level? So, like, it's like Ulster football has definitely come on in terms of competing for the Irelands now, and even like it's good to see Galway back at the top table. Obviously, Mayo. I know you're saying Mayo is in transition, but they still got to an All-Ireland final 2 years ago. So, like, McStay has come in to set up there now, and it's from a lot of James's hard work in terms of blooding that team. In terms of the team of 6 years ago is completely gone now. So McStay's kind of come in, and there's a lot of young blood there that's been blooded already. So it'll be interesting how they go. So, and as you said, Roscommon as well. So it's look, the only team that I'm still desperately disappointed with is Cork. I fucking, for a size, the county their size, it's absolutely desperate. Now, hopefully I hope Meath get back to the top table as well. I hope O'Rourke comes in and does a bit with them. But whoever is fucking over the structure of Cork for the last 10 years should be ran out of the county. I just do not understand it.
Astonishing. It's astonishing, and I have this conversation so many times with people. Like, it's a massive county, huge football. But what they have in as well is what a lot of other counties are crying out for, including my own county. They have some seriously physicality and some serious size in their team as well. Some proper athletes, and that's something that always sort of baffles me. And I thought Kevin was coming in there this year. Now, saying that, it's only one game in. They have Kildare this weekend. Kildare and Cork probably over the last number of years have been very, very similar in that they have flattered to deceive. They've always struggled defensively when they've come up against certain teams. They've always sort of crumbled when the button's been pressed. But just come back to Division 1 quickly before we talk about Cork. 3 Connacht teams: Galway, Mayo, Roscommon, and 4 Ulster teams: Armagh, Donegal, Tyrone, and Monaghan, and 1 Munster team. No one from Leinster. Which is astonishing, and it's. I think that's an indictment, and I think that's an indictment of where the football's going. I don't think Dublin are strong. I think it's a great opportunity for Kildare and Meath this year. A really good opportunity for either of those two teams to kick on. I thought Longford would have really pushed on. I thought they would have definitely pushed on. They're always there for a scalp, but I was worried about that result at the weekend. And then Westmeath, I think Westmeath last year, the respect that those lads have. I seen Jack Cooney in action before Christmas in Jordanstown at the Ulster GA coaching conference. He was delivering a session on transition play, and I can tell you what, he blew me away with how good a coach he is. And I have a funny feeling that the Westmeath players, they might have just tipped the pinnacle there last year by winning the Tailteann, and I just feel there might be a wee bit of a plateau there this year under Desi Dolan. It's Desi's first year managing as well. It takes a while. It's very easy to sit in the commentary box. It's not as easy to sit in the dugout, and that's the thing then, boys, have got to remember. It's a tougher gig on the dugout than it is in the commentary box,
If Desi came in and kind of, I'm not going to say stabilise it, but as in just their league position, a decent championship, maybe a win or two. Do you know what I mean? As you said, they're building nicely, as in from the Tailteann Cup, everything. I'm going to say stabilise for a year or two, and then hopefully kick on again. Do you know sort of way.
Well, I think you need out of Division 3. That, like, I'm looking at Division 3, awfully Fermanagh, Westmeath, Longford, Antrim, Down, Cavan, Tip. Like, Down and Cavan have aspirations to get out of 3. The result Westmeath had at home to Cavan has put them on the back foot. They go to Longford this weekend. And that's a must win. If they don't win that game, that's nearly their league campaign over. That, I know that sounds dramatic, but it is. Like, 1 point after 2 games, and still have to play it down and still have to play for Monaghan. It's lights out. It's lights out. So I think this weekend is a pivotal weekend. I'll tell you another thing too, and yourself from playing yourself, like, it's a strange one this weekend because there's a 2-week break. So you could go into this weekend with 2 wins, and the training for the next 2 weeks, as you know, will be buzzing. Everybody flying, the crack great, the morale great. You go in with 2 defeats or 2 games, no win. First week, everybody's down. It takes a week to lift it. Then you're building towards game 3. And then all of a sudden, game 3 becomes a must-win game, and there's pressure. And that's the way the league is. That's the beauty of the league. It's a great product that we have,
Yeah. If we lost the first 2 league games, I'd be coming down from Dublin a lot fucking more of less next 2 weeks after that. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
It all depends how the league was going. If they were chipping along nicely, there's more sessions in Dublin for the Mayo crew. Like, there used to be 7 or 8 of us up here 10 years ago, we'd say. But as you said, it's the pressure's on. If you lose the first 2 league games, there is fucking major pressure. Obviously the 3rd game. What I was going to say to you, so just last thing with 40 minutes on the clock here, just Crokes and Glenn, Stephen, what's your opinion on it? What you think? Where it's going to go? What's going to happen there?
It's very easy, and for us probably to sit and say this should happen, that should happen, this should happen. I probably put myself into the shoes of those 2 men. Like, Robbie Brennan is a really nice man, a real nice fella. I've spoke to Robbie a few times on the phone about different things. He's a lovely man. Really, really top manager. Malachy O'Rourke is one of the gentlemen in the game. Like, I got to know Malachy a number of years ago. We were with Carlo and went down and played Monaghan a few times for challenge matches and stuff like that, and met them in the championship. And I would have known Malachy through schools football as well, and I would stay in touch with Malachy quite a bit. Like, he's a really nice guy. Like, I would say those 2 men are just hurting badly and just not knowing. Malachy came out after the game and and said that it wasn't his way of doing things and wasn't really the club's way of doing things, etc. And it's one of those things. I genuinely don't think, Enda, that Robbie Brennan had any intention in sending 2 men on to stand on the line. There was no intention meant there. No. I don't think Malachy O'Rourke would have wanted to go down the line like this and go for a replay and stuff, and maybe win it in a tarnished way, because the effort and time that would have went in. And I was at both games. I was at the Glen semi-final against Mike Cullen and Kilmacud's game against Cairns O'Reilly, sorry. Yes, big Davy Moore's club. And I was at both games, and then I went to the final as well. And I was at the All-Ireland Club final, and there were brilliant games. Like, they were all brilliant games. They all went down to the wire. Every one of those games went down to the wire, and any one of those 4 teams could have won the All-Ireland. And that's the reality. Kieran O'Rathley said a ball clear to the line in the last minute, could have knocked Crokes out. Mike Cullen had chances to beat Glenn as well. And that's how tight and how close those 4 teams were. And I actually think it was a really good provincial series. The Ulster final between Glen and Kilcoo was a brilliant game of football. It went right to the wire. Like, I just felt the club football over the winter was class, and and it's just such a sad way for it to finish. But I'll say one thing, the end. Croke Park are pretty quick when it comes to firing out suspensions and dishing out suspensions to coaches and managers and the likes of that. And I'll tell you a good one. I'll tell you a good one. I remember a fourth official in particular, and I remember actually standing on the sideline, and all he wanted to do the whole game was engage with Turlock or engage with the other manager. Sorry, your foot is just slightly over the line. Will you get back in there, etc., etc. Like madness, and they're so quick to sort that, but they can't see that somebody's come off. But look, there's a very simplistic way around it, and it's very straightforward. The player doesn't come on until the player comes off. That's just the way it has to be. There's an area for a player to come off and an area for a player to go in, and that's it, fixed. Simple. But Croke Park, I think, just should have come straight out after the game and straight out bump statement, bam, decision, and then the next day momentum still there, and the replay could have happened. See, now there won't be a replay. There won't. Like, that's my opinion. I don't think there will be.
Do you even think if they announced it straight away after the game? I just think it sets a I thought the media coverage of it after was over the top in terms of Crokes being cheaters and just like madness stuff. Some of the main media outlets as well was slating them, and I'm just like, as you know, like, two men come onto the pitch, last kick of the game. I'm not looking at who's coming off here. I'm looking at the 45 taker, as in, I don't know who's if the two lads, obviously Mannion came off, but the other lad obviously didn't know. Like, so it's obviously an official error, and as you said, the easy fix here is to learn from it and bloody stay. The man has to stay on the line until the fella comes off. Or, like, the referee should have blown it and got the players off before he continued the play. It was the last bloody play of the game. There wasn't exactly any rush here.
Last game. I think probably a lot of the stuff that came out though, and you probably know as well, you played a bit of football in Dublin as well yourself, like, there's probably an element of bitterness and resentment towards Kilmacud as a club, for the Shane Walsh transfer, Shane Horn from Offaly stuff. But, like, they're a fantastic club. Kilmacud are a good club. I spent many a year down at Kilmacud the day before the All-Ireland final, involved in the sevens. I played in it 1 year. I managed in it for 5 years. It's a fantastic day. Like, the crack we used to have in that club. And they're a lovely club, very welcoming club. A lot of great people around the club. They're like any club. It's just the difference is they're a city club. They're in Stillorgan. They've more members. So what? Doesn't matter. They're still a club. It still means something to the people in Stillorgan, the people that are in that club. So I think it's a bit unfair because at the end of the day, there's people that transfer from all over the country to different clubs and people that are playing. Like, for example, Conor McCrickard from Leitrim was playing for St Finbarrs last year in the All-Ireland semi-final. Like, if they'd have beat Kilcoo, would there have been an outcry from the GA public saying, also disgrace that Conor McCrickard from 5 mile down the road against Kilcoo was playing for St Finbarrs? You know what I mean? It happens all the time. Lads transfer with work or whatever, commitments, and that's just life. And we're very insular. I think sometimes in the GA, and we're very insular. We're very, we're very, very traditionalist, and we hate change, and we don't like, the game to evolve or be any type of innovation is like fraught with anger and disdain. Like, look, it was a rule breach. I can't remember who it was. Somebody in the media made a very good point. Man United played Arsenal because me and the wife actually were walking back from Croke Park to the train station on the Sunday. And we called into Cleary's there, the wee bar, and just outside the train station there at Conley, and we watched the second half of the Man United match. And I can't remember who it was in the media said, like, if Arsenal had threw on an extra player, for the last minute, and United were trying to score, and that extra player was standing on the goal line, the Premier League would have instantly said, forfeit the game, game awarded to United or a refixture, whatever. It wouldn't have been just like, we're going to leave it now to see what Man United are going to do. If Man United want to replay, it doesn't. That's probably where our amateur status comes into play. There's a lot of amateurs making amateur decisions, and that's unfortunately the case. Like, and it will continue to be the case. Listen, Enda, I've been very fortunate to sit in a couple of CCC meetings from my sins up in Croke Park, the kangaroo, what I would call it, and it was laughable. I was presenting my video analysis one night, and I swear to God, this is true story. There was a man at the end of the table in the CCC that actually had drifted off. I could see him sort of nodding off. And that's what they're dealing with. That's, you know what I mean? But look, he probably got 2 tickets for the All Ireland final and a hot dinner. So, you know what I mean? He's going to travel up the road and sit in the CCC. So, look, it doesn't surprise me those decisions are being made, because I've seen it at first hand what it's like. It's ridiculous.
So, what, in a perfect world, what do you think should have happened there?
GA come in straight away after the game, look at it straight away after the game and say, right, has there been a rule breach? Has it been a major rule breach? Has it been and it was significant, let's be honest. It probably was significant. The fact that an extra player was standing on the goal line, when that shot came in, would there have been a Glen player in that area? Would another Kilmacud player have moved from a different area to fill that space? All these things have to be taken into consideration straight away after the game. We're investigating. Decision will be made tomorrow at 12 o'clock, whatever. Hold off on your celebrations because there could be a replay. And it's straightforward. But letting teams celebrate for 3 or 4 days and then coming out the Wednesday saying, right, Glen have appealed, we're going to have a meeting next Monday. And then 10 days later saying, right, we're going to have a replay. It's not, you know what I mean? It is. It is far.
But lads have got away in holidays. I know lads, like, there's some Crokes players got away in holidays already, like. So,
and that's well, the fact that the match was meant to be played to a finish on the day, that meant that there was no replay. So yourself, if you're involved in an All-Ireland final or a Ulster final, if there's a replay the following week, people aren't going to be booking holidays because they're going to be in the anticipation of there may be a replay. So no, listen, here it is what it is, and sure, look, unfortunately, no matter what happens now, there's going to be that little asterisk beside that All-Ireland win, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I was a Crokes player, I'd give a shite, to be honest with you. I don't know. Maybe.
If you get that Celtic cross, you're happy enough. You're happy enough.
I don't know. Like, just getting back to last point here, I think, as you said, I don't think there'd be such an outcry if it was the roles reversed. As you said, the whole Shane Walsh thing. I think it definitely. I thought the media exposure last week was fucking desperate, to be honest with you.
It was probably unfair on them,
But anyway, look, we'll see the next week now. Well, this will roll on for another month, to be honest with you, but won't it? They won't.
Oh, listen, there'll be a counter appeal, another counter appeal, and then what'll happen is Kilmacud could genuinely just literally dig their heels in and say, "There's the cup, take it," and our Glen are not going to accept that. Like, do you know what I mean? So. No. It'll roll on. There'll be another rule change, and there'll be some fine or whatever, and that'll be it. That'll be the end of it.
That is. All right, I think we'll wrap that up now. Look, it's good chat to you, Stephen, and we'll touch base again next week. All right, man.
Yeah, looking forward to next week. All right, thanks.
Cheers.